All right. Thank you all for hanging out to now. My name is David. Welcome to the second edition of the Cloud Momentum series. This is a three-part series that we've been running from the beginning of, from mid-July. And the purpose of the Cloud Momentum series is to prepare you for the different changes that are happening in the technology space, from AI to modernization to cost optimization. These are some topics that we'll be taking. We have had the first session, which is the cloud optimization session that happened last week. You have a chance to still register for that session and access the recordings, which we'll be pushing at the end of the series for you to catch up on what we said at that session. So you want to ensure that you, the link to register for the entire series will be in the chat session in a moment. So you want to look out for that. But this is the second, which is AI readiness. When you talk about AI in a lot of situations is exciting for most businesses, but a lot of companies get stuck, particularly after the demo session. You've demoed it, you see that it works fine for a very controlled session, but when it's time to go live, you find out that you're probably not data ready, your employees are not well prepared for that, or you have some things that are just not well suited for your environment. You have not picked the right tools, the right processes, the right technologies. These are some things that you want to ensure that you're best prepared for when getting AI ready. And that's why we've deemed it fit to get the session out to our audience, our network, and our clients. So you want to stick around for this. To do justice to this is our senior engineer who has been at CloudPlexo and supported different level organizations across Europe, Middle East, and Africa with AI processes, AI ML processes, and data readiness across the different zones. He has over close to a decade experience architecting systems and working with AI solutions. And that's none other than our senior solutions architect in AI, which is Gabriel Adeleke. Gabriel will be taking us through the AI session. I think Gabriel is up now. Gabriel, are you here?
Yes, I'm here. Thank you, David.
Great, great. How are you doing today?
Doing good. How are you?
I'm fine. I'm fine. So in 10 seconds, just give us a run through. What are you sharing with us today?
Yeah, hello everyone. Welcome to this session. In 10 seconds, this session is basically getting businesses ready for AI, right? Everybody knows AI today, but are you actually ready to bring this into your business? What are the real questions to answer or the real questions to ask before actually getting into it? So we are going to be answering those questions today. I think that's what I have for us today. So yep.
That's more than 10 seconds, but I'll pardon you for that. Maybe
Thank
an
you.
exciting topic, so maybe you want to just keep running. But yeah, I
Yeah.
think that's it. I think it's time to just dive right in. And I'll go off to the back stage now so that I can also get my pen and paper and jot things down and learn from the session. Thank you all. We hang on, and mid the section and towards the end, we'll have a chance to answer questions. So you might want to drop your sessions as Gabriel goes on with the session. Gabriel, I'm handing the baton off to you.
Yeah, thank you very much, David. I can see we have a lot of people from different places. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening. We are applicable. Okay, to jump into it, right? This session is going to be talking about AI readiness, right? For business, right? Everybody knows about AI these days, and but there's a problem, right? When it comes to implementing AI, you don't just jump into it, right? Because if you jump into it, then you're going to be faced with a lot of problems, right? Some of them you're not prepared for. Some of them can run you into debt because AI can be very expensive to run. That is why we're having this session to be able to evaluate what it takes to implement AI at a business level, what it takes to scale, and what you should be prepared for as regards this. Thank you very much. David, next slide. Yes, thanks. So we are going to be talking about the air pressure problem in a couple of minutes, right? This is what we are looking to address, right? Every business leader has this pressure or to implement AI into their workflows, right? Every tech leader Is either you have AI running already or you don't. And if you don't, you're feeling left out because your teams are using it, your competitors are also using it, right? But you also want to implement it, but maybe you don't know where to start, or you are looking at the big picture, right? How this is going to affect your current running processes and what it is going to look like from a cost standpoint. And all of these questions are some of the things that you're very concerned about. So we are going to be answering all of these questions today. Right? We are going to be talking about what it looks like to jump into AI without having a clear roadmap, separating the hype, right? You want to be able to map out the actual needs that you have instead of just buying into the hype and then running into it without any proper planning, which is going to cause problems for you. So we are going to talk about easing this pressure, and then we are going to talk about how you can actually follow a clear roadmap to actually implementing the right thing for your business, right? So that is what we're going to be doing today. So I'm going to move on to the next slide where we talk about the real questions CTOs face, right? There are a couple of questions that you want to answer before you start implementing AI. First of all, very critical is your data infrastructure ready, right? As we all know, we've all heard the saying that a good model is only your model or your AI model is only as good as the data that you have. It's not just a cliche; it's an actual thing, right? Because your system is only as good as the data that is used to train it, right? If you don't have the right data, you're going to have a bad model, and if you have a bad model, then you're basically creating more problems instead of solving the problem that you actually wanted to address in the first place, right? Secondly, what is the true cost of AI adoption, right? AI adoption is not just how much you pay for your API keys, the amount of tokens you use in a month. That is not what the true cost of AI adoption is. The true cost of AI adoption is actually about the compute, the integration, the training, the ongoing maintenance, what deployments looks like in practice, and how you keep this process running for as long as you need, right? And then thirdly, we are going to talk about where do you start from without risking capital and experimentation, right? You don't want to spend so much at a phase where you're just experimenting, right? You want to take it step by step. You want to have a pilot phase, and then you want to be able to evaluate that all your needs are being met in this pilot phase. And you want to be able to do this without going out of budget, right? You want to be able to do all of this. And lastly, addressing technical debt, right? Not just implementing AI, but having the team as a standby that can actually solve your problems if any arises in the implementation phase. You want a team that has the technical know-how to be able to handle any problems that might arise, right? Okay, so we're going to go into what AI readiness actually means, right? We've broken this down into four actual pillars, which is data, infrastructure, people and processes. And the first, like we talked about earlier, is going to be the data, right? Data is very, very important when talking about implementing AI, right? Different types of businesses, different types of companies have different needs and different use cases where they want to implement AI in, right? So this is not just about having data all over the place. We need to know about the quality of the data that we are having, right? Is your data actually good enough, right? Does it have all the necessary features that you need to be able to address the problem you're trying to solve, right? So it's about accessibility, it's about the quality of the data. Accessibility as in where is this data stored? Is it in a unified storage where it can be easily accessible? Is it scattered around? What is the structure look like? Is it a structured data? Is it not structured? All of this needs to be evaluated. And then there's also governance, right? Do you have the right policies in place to manage your data responsibly? So this is the first thing we are going to be evaluating as a team. Third Plexo is a team of experts where we are going to be evaluating all of this one after the other, right? The next thing is infrastructure, right? Now we've evaluated your data, we've seen what it's like. The next thing is talking about the infrastructure to actually build out this solution you're looking to build. This means cloud compute. How much cloud compute do you have currently working? Do you even have cloud compute at all? Are you working with on-prem servers? What does your storage layer look like? What does your networking layer look like, right? AI workloads are very resource intensive, right? And then we want to be able to assess whether we have the right infrastructure to be able to actually run these workloads without having any bottlenecks. Especially when we are scaling, right? So you need the right infrastructure to support training, inferencing, and scaling, right? And then the third is people. Here we are talking about the technical skills needed by your team to be able to actually build this out or to be able to monitor this and maintain it, right? So we're talking about training, we're talking about change management, we're talking about skills, right? And then you might have the best tools in the world. Maybe you have infrastructure already, but then if your people are not equipped enough to be able to handle the changing environment of the workspace, the technical level needed to be able to build out the solution you're looking to build, or worse, if your people are resisting the change, right? Your AI initiatives will either fail or they'll stall. So we also want to evaluate the people readiness, right? And then the last is processes. So this covers the workflows, the automation and integration, right? For every AI implementation you want to do, you need to have a well thought out process outlined and documented, right? And this is going to cover every step of the implementation that you want to have, right? AI does not exist in a vacuum. It needs to plug into your existing business processes. So you need to evaluate those processes, and you need to evaluate at what particular point in each of these processes do you want AI to come in, right? All of this coming together is what is going to help you to deliver the actual value that you are looking to implement, right? And then with these four pillars, then you have a strong foundation that can support AI at scale, right? Yeah. So the next one is CloudPlexo ourselves. We've talked about what AI readiness means in general, right? We've talked about the different layers. Now, what does CloudPlexo do, or how do we help in this case? First of all, when it comes to data, we are going to assess your data quality, right? How clean it is, how complete it is, and how accessible is it. And then this is not just done in silos, right? We are doing this with respect to your use case, right? Which we are going to see as the fifth step of the CloudPlexo AI readiness framework. The next is infrastructure. We at CloudPlexo, we're a team of experts, very vast in the cloud, right? And then we are going to evaluate your current infrastructure, your current cloud usage, what platform do you currently use, what resources do you currently use, how efficient are those resources at this point in time before you implement anything, and then are they enough to actually support the AI workloads that you are looking to implement. Then also comes the skills and talents, right? We look at your team, we evaluate the technical expertise of your team to be able to build, deploy, maintain the solutions, right? And then wherever there are gaps, we are able to plug into those gaps and help your team close them to be able to get your people ready for the scale of what you're trying to do. Then also we talk about governance, right? Do you have the right policies and frameworks and compliance structures, right, to be able to successfully run your platform? Because different platforms have or different industries rather have different compliance structures, right? The compliance structure for a financial institution is going to be different from the compliance structure of an health industry rather. So for the kind of industry you're in, the policies and compliance structures that are needed to be able to successfully comply with all the necessary requirements. We are also going to evaluate this in-house, and then we are also going to find the fit for you. And the last is the use case fit. Now we've evaluated everything on their own, the data, infra, people, talent, ethics and compliance. Now we are going to look at the use case fit. For the data you have, the infrastructure, the talent, and the business you're trying to solve, the business or the industry you're in, do you have the right use case, right? Are you trying to solve the right problems, or you're just looking at just having AI so that we can say we have AI in our workflow, right? So we help you evaluate and close the gap between targeting the right problems and actually solving the right issues in your business. And then once we have all of this scope, then we can give you a clear picture of where you stand today in the AI readiness pipeline. Are you ready now? Are there things we need to do to get you ready? Then we evaluate all of this, and then we can then move forward. So the next thing we're going to be talking about is the cost and investment clarity, right? Now we have evaluated how ready you are to implement all of these workflows or your data and everything. Now we're going to talk about cost, which is one of the biggest issues with implementing and scaling AI today, right? We can see right now in the space, everybody talks about teams have been giving their engineers or their staff access to AI, but now they are trying to cut it down, and then they are saying that the amounts they are spending on these things is actually far more than having actual people do the work. And then it's now becoming an issue, right? Where we are now trying to circle back and try to solve problems that could have been avoided in the first place. So that is why cost and investment criteria is very, very important to talk about, right? And then what we do is in getting you ready for AI, we also forecast accurately in terms of cost. That means we look at your budget, right? And then we look at your infrastructure and resources specific to the use case you're trying to solve, right? Not a generic estimate. Even in the same industry, over time with experience, we find out even companies of the same scale in the same industry would have different cost projections depending on the specific use cases they are trying to solve and how the business currently operates, right? So the cost is something that is tailored based on your current business processes and the scale of the AI you're looking to implement. So we as a team at Crowdplex, so we help you uncover hidden costs, right? This is done by thorough evaluation of your current systems, your infrastructure, your data, everything we talked about previously. We have an in-depth look into it with our in-house teams. And then trust me, there are always hidden costs that you cannot forecast, right? Because at the point of preparing your data, most people don't even think about the costs involved in preparing data, right? All we think about is, yes, when people are using this, what is it going to cost us? But there are costs involved in preparing your data, in getting yourself ready for AI readiness, right? In training your team. All of these are costs that are going to help you gain clarity into. And then by the time you are scaling your business, you are ready for what is coming, right? You know what to expect based on what we have implemented for you. And then you are not caught off guard by the cost that you are going to be incurring over your investment, right? So once we have all of this invested, then we can now talk about implementing your use case, right? So the next thing is we're talking about high impact use cases that we have seen, and that most likely your use case is going to fall under. Next slide, please, David. Thank you. So we have a few high impact use cases here. It is good to note that this is not all the use cases available, right? These are just some of the use cases that we have identified. With experience implementing AI for a lot of customers, most of the implementations fall under one of these, right? And then we just do a walkthrough of each of them. So the first one is workflow automation. Workflow automation is more of like a buzzword in the industry now in tech, right? Everybody wants to automate a particular process, right? And then it is right because one of the areas where AI excel is in automating workflows, right? This involves things like document processing, approval routing, data entry automation, right? Basically repetitive tasks that happen every day and that an AI can handle very well. So one of these use cases here is say you have an approval process maybe for a meal plan every day for your staff, and then you don't want it to be a manual process every day. It's taking a couple of hours or 3 hours for this approval to go out. It's something AI can actually automate. And then there are 1,000 ways to implement our workflow automation, right? There are 1,000 tools out there that you can use to automate a workflow. But where Calplexo comes in is helping you evaluate right and having the right implementation in place, right? The right to use at each point in time is something that we know, something that we can implement for you. It's something that we can help your team get ready to implement, right? So workflow automation is one of those, one of such cases where AI has very high impact and low efforts to implement, right? The next one, another one that is very huge is customer experience, right? Look at banks having entire customer experience or customer data centers where they have hundreds of agents, right? Just answering calls and trying to get users satisfied by their experience, right? AI is also something that excels very well in this case, although it is not a low effort investment or implementation, right? Because we are talking about building out an entire pipeline. Say, look at the case of a customer experience center now, where users can call about problems and then they can get solutions from agents, right? If you want an AI to be able to do this, then we are talking about building out an extensive, robust knowledge base where all the questions that users have been asking over time are documented. And then we have the AI processes and pipelines, which we have the technical expertise, of course, to be able to implement, to now build out chatbots with personalized LLM and recommendations that can basically go into the knowledge base, get the right answers, answer the customers, and then do this at scale very quickly. Right, it takes a lot of infrastructure management to be able to get a production level implementation that can handle all of these queries at speed. Right, so this is somewhere AI excels, and this is also something that we can implement for you. So after getting AI ready, these are also some cases where you want to look into workflow automation, customer experience, and also predictive analytics. Predictive analytics is very, very important, right, because it's able to help you forecast, right, depending on the type of business you have. You can forecast demand for your products, demands for your services. You can also predict what locations these demands are going to come from. Imagine having all of this being ready, and then at every point in time, you are able to feed into every request, right? Predictive analytics is also an area where AI excels in, but this also requires a lot of effort, right? Because now we are talking about building algorithms from scratch, looking at the data, looking at the right algorithms that would be able to give you the best accuracy on your data, that is able to predict as well as possible, right? This needs a lot of technical know-how and expertise, which of course Carplexa has the internal team to be able to help you build this out and also help you get ready or build out the expertise for your team to be able to implement this. And lastly, we're going to talk about internal productivity. So this is like assisted AI tools for your engineers, knowledge search from your knowledge base for your internal team to be able to use to expand their processes or to make them more efficient. These are also high impact use cases that now are not looking at return on investment as per profit, but now is looking at productivity for internal users to just make our workflows internally more efficient. So these are some of the high impact use cases. And then once you identify your use case, and then we can now look at a strategic roadmap that you're going to follow. David, next slide, please. Great. So now, having talked about the use case that you want to implement, now we've evaluated all of these, your readiness in terms of infrastructure, data, compliance, and then we've now identified how much you're going to be spending or what you've been looking at in terms of budgeting. And now we've also identified the use case that you want to implement. So basically, we have everything we need to be able to come up with a strategic roadmap for you to implement AI. So first of all is assessment, right? We assess your readiness across all the pillars that we have discussed, and then we now plan, right? This planning involves mapping out your investments, right? Your budgeting, and then we define priorities, right? We have a scale, and then we build a model that makes sense for your organization, right? And then once we have this, then we are able to now go into building into a low risk environment, right? What we are talking about here is either Cloudplexo as a whole or in conjunction with your team. We now build out a pilot for you where you can basically test with a few users, test internally, and then assess, come back, reiterate, and then see that we have addressed all the edge cases that was not addressed at the point of planning. And then we can now have like a full pipeline into an AI readiness scheme. And then we can now think about scaling. Once the pilot phase is successful, then we now talk about scaling this, the infrastructure, what the pipeline is going to look like, what the support is going to look like from your team and from Carplexo team, how all of this is going to work together. We now plan an extensive map of how all of this is going to work. And basically, by the time we are done with this, there's high confidence the AI pressure problem is gone because we are able to address every problem that we are going to be facing in the course of implementing AI at scale for business. David, you wanna take it?
Great. I wanted to just spotlight a few things that we've learned so far. But Gabriel, I'll be putting down the slides now so that you can share it yourself. But while you were sharing a few things about how to get ready, assess, plan, pilot, and scale, the comment section, we had some contributions from the comment section I wanted to also spotlight. I also learned a few things. Let me check for my notes here. I see data quality, infrastructure quality, skills and talent, governance, and use case fit, like how fit is your use case. These are some things that I also learned from what you shared. And while you were also sharing that, I saw Matt Wilson also shared the true cost of AI also needs to consider the environmental cost compared to traditional methods. It's not easy to do right now, as there is not a lot of research published or published guidance. So this is a contribution that came in from Matt Wilson while you were talking. I think you can share your screen now and then take us to what implementation looks like. But while you are trying to do that, a few things about Carplexo. Carplexo is a technology consulting company. Think of us like your partner in helping you get AI ready and helping you implement AI processes in your organization. So you want to, if you are already thinking about what Gabriel has shared and you're looking at how can I ensure that I'm ready to implement this, look no further, because CalPEX is your friend here to help you with this process. And we're basically going to help you starting from an AI readiness audit, which would look through your processes with you and ask questions and help you determine how ready you are for the next phase. We are competent across different cloud organizations, as from AWS, Microsoft, and others. But for the purpose of this session, we're going to be zeroing in on Microsoft. Gabriel will share more on several other equivalents on the AWS platform and how you can bring all this together. So I think with that, we can hand over to Gabriel now. Gabriel, can you take it from here?
Yeah, thank you very much, David. Also, Matt, what Matt mentioned is actually very relevant as regards environmental cost, right? There's a lot of ethics and compliance and a lot of legal and ethical concerns with regards running AI. But of course, it's an ongoing discussion. It's an evolving field, and of course, there'll be more of that in the future. So thank you, Matt, for that addition. Okay, the next phase of the presentation now is talking about a platform that we can use to actually run an AI process, right? We've talked about getting ready, we've talked about implementing AI, but now a practical use case of how a particular platform or a cloud service can be used to run AI. All the levels of AI, from getting your data ready to finally deploying and having a scalable pipeline. And then this platform that we are going to be using for the purpose of this webinar is going to be Microsoft's AI and Cloud Platform. So basically, Microsoft Azure services as a whole. This is one of the cloud platforms, like David mentioned. We are competent across platforms, say AWS, Microsoft, for example. We are competent across all of these platforms. But then for the purpose of this webinar, we're going to be talking about Microsoft as a use case for implementing AI. So let me just quickly move on. Yes. So the first thing we're going to be talking about is Microsoft Foundry. Right. These days, if you want to implement AI, you basically have your use case, and then you can just pay for an API, say ChatGPT or Claude Anthropic, and then you are sending prompts to this AI, you are getting results back, and then basically for some people that is all they have to do to have their business run AI. They basically have an API, and then they believe they are running AI. That is also good, but then when you have something like Microsoft Foundry, think of an entire hub or platform where you basically have thousands of AI models. Imagine paying to Anthropic every day, and then one day suddenly your Anthropic model is not working, or for a few minutes or a few hours there's downtime, or your model is not working as you want it to. Now you have to start thinking of plugging into another API service or building out another API layer, right? Where you can now call, maybe pay for OpenAI again, and now you're now paying for multiple services just so you don't have downtime. Think of Microsoft Foundry as an all-in-one enterprise AI platform where you have access to all of these models that you'll be paying for outside of the cloud platform, but then you have all of them in a unified space, right? Imagine having one API layer that can connect to thousands of models, right? Talking about the OpenAI ones, the cloud ones, even the ones you don't know about, and also having a playground where you can test all of these models, right? You don't have to pay for these APIs until you are sure that they are going to work well for your use case, right? And then Microsoft Foundry is going to give you an all-in-one platform where you can test out multiple AI models, evaluate the use case fit for these models, and then implement them into your lifecycle. of your workflow. So imagine having multiple AI agents for your business, and then you want an anthropic model to handle complex reasoning. You want a meta llama model to handle maybe intent recognition, and then you want an OpenAI model to handle, say, retrieval and search. You basically can build all of this within one API layer, connecting to one AI platform, and then you can also build your agents and workflows in this platform. So I'm going to talk about a use case that we implemented for a client. Basically, this client wanted to build a chatbot kind of where internal users, if you remember in our previous slides, we talked about internal productivity as one of the high impact AI use cases. And then they wanted to be able to search through thousands of documents to be able to get results in seconds, right? In milliseconds, right? What do? We don't go outside and start looking for open source platforms or plugging into different APIs and then paying for that. All of this was done within one Microsoft Foundry workflow, right? We have AI services that build out the indexing for all the knowledges that they have, right? We have a knowledge base where all of these documents are ingested, and then these documents can be of different types, right? Some of them are structured, some of them are non-structured. We have PDF files, we have tables, we have diagrams. Basically, imagine having one AI platform where you can just basically pour all of this information into different databases, and all of them become one unified search layer. And then when you try to get information out of this, maybe you search for information, the search goes through all the knowledge base semantically, vector similarity. It basically does all of this without your team having to worry about any technical debt, right? Because all of this is built in together by Microsoft. And then one thing Microsoft also gives you is the confidence that you are plugging into a service that millions of users are using. Microsoft is used by the top companies all over the world, right? It has been for years, even before AI came into place. Now imagine now having an AI layer on all of these platforms that have been built by Microsoft that just seamlessly plugs into different Microsoft offerings like SharePoint, OneDrive. All of this is already plugged into Microsoft Foundry, and then you can basically build out anything you want within this platform, from agents to APIs, and then from development to deployment. You basically have all of this in one place. So that is Microsoft Foundry. And that is one area where Microsoft really excels when it comes to implementing AI, right? I'm going to talk about a few more AI services provided by Microsoft. So we have Azure AI and Microsoft Copilot. So think we've been talking about LLMs and AI agents. Now imagine for the case of, say, a financial institution that is looking to build out a fraud detection system, right? That is where something like Azure AI services come in. One of these services is Azure machine learning, right? To be able to build, I know we have some technical people in the house, so to be able to build, say, a fraud detection system, for example, you need to have a data preparation layer, you need to have a future engineering layer, you need to have a algorithm experimentation phase where you test out different algorithms and you build all of this. Now imagine using Azure machine learning for this, which gives you managed services for all of these workflows, right? From data preparation, you can do everything within Azure machine learning. It basically gives you notebooks, deployment options, and everything you basically need to be able to build out an entire pipeline you can find in Azure machine learning. And then there are also managed services for speech recognition. You want to do language translation, or you want to do image recognition, for example. Azure gives you all of these capabilities with services like vision, speech, language, and decision making, right? Sentiment analysis, all of this within one platform, giving you one API that is used by billions of users, right? You're not going to be like a pilot user. You're plugging into something that you have the confidence that a lot of people have been using at scale, and then you can easily just become one of them, right? And then we have Microsoft Copilot, right? Copilot is basically your AI productivity tool, right? You can have an AI in your meetings. You can basically have a custom AI agent in Copilot Studio that can maybe join your meetings, and then you can chat with this later. So Azure gives you all of these capabilities. It also gives you managed compliance ways to be able to use all of these services, right? Imagine you have such a platform, and then you only want maybe your CTO to be able to access some parts of this platform. It gives you all of these capabilities baked into the service itself, and then you don't have to worry about anything else apart from just plugging into the services and using them for your use cases. So in summary, why Microsoft for AI readiness? First, you get enterprise security and compliance. Like I said, it's used by billions of people around the world today. Some of the top companies in the world are plugged into Microsoft already. So you have this enterprise level confidence in whatever you're doing. And it has a built-in governance, of course, and compliance as every layer of everything you're building. Also, seamless integration, which we talked about. It can work with your existing Microsoft stack if you currently have one in place, right? And then you're not replacing any of your workflows. You're basically just enhancing the capabilities of all of these tools or all of your current working tools, right? And then from pilot to production, basically, you have a workflow that you've been in the pilot phase just testing, the infrastructure or the technical depth that is needed to take your small pilot phase to an enterprise grade level. If you're using a service like Microsoft Azure for this, it's basically a very seamless pipeline because you are not now plugging into different services. You're basically just using what is already in place, and then Cloudplex as a team can now help you build out a pipeline where you take your pilots to production in minutes, right? And then it's something that scales globally and everybody can access it. And then one other thing you get, which you wouldn't get anywhere else, is the Cloudplex partnership, right? We've been talking a lot about our in-house expertise, how we have engineers across different cloud platforms that can support you as every phase of the AI readiness pillars. And then even after deployment and after your application is now running and people are accessing it, CloudPlex is always going to be there to lend a hand to maybe enhance the workflow or maybe change a particular workflow or to always help you monitor all of these implementations. So yes, that is one of the reasons why Microsoft is really great for you, and having CloudPlex as a partner is something you also really want. So yes, I think that is it for now. So your next steps from now is having an entire framework, right? Accessing all the pillars that we've talked about, from your data to your infrastructure to your people. Do you have what it takes to implement, right? Once you have all of this, then what does your cost look like? What is it going to look like having this run in a small environment? Or what is it going to look like having this in a production environment? Are you ready for the cost that you're going to incur over the cost of this investment? And then what is your budget, right? All of this CloudPlex comes in, help you evaluate it, evaluate your use cases also, and then build out a roadmap that fits your budget, your people, your technical know-how, basically. And then where there are any gaps in any of these, we can then plug into it. So are you ready to move from strategy to execution? CloudPlex is always here to guide you in your readiness journey for all of this. Thank you very much for joining the session. David, I think I'll hand over to you now for the next part.
All right. Thank you for handing over to me. And thank you for a fantastic session. While you were speaking, I think a question came in about the cloud offerings. But while that's also going on, I think a link would also come in on the chat box through which you can apply for the cloud for the AI readiness audit. Gabriel, you might also want to refresh your slides because I think the QR code is supposed to come up on that end. But yes, okay. While you were speaking, we were talking, Winston Best asked, does CloudPlex have offerings for SMEs, including informal SMEs? So far, your company is tech-enabled or is looking to get tech-enabled. Sure, CloudPlex can assist you in the process. I know that there are a couple of companies that are really interested in employing AI in what they're doing, and this is an opportunity for them to definitely leverage it. Okay, yeah, that's it there. So you can also scan this QR code to access the AI readiness audit. If a few companies will be qualifying based on our internal process and qualification criteria. So yeah, CloudPlex caters to different sizes of organizations. And I said this at the beginning: if you are a startup or SMB, or you are a mid-level organization, or even enterprises to like banks, manufacturing companies, and then to public sector organizations, we have served different tiers of organizations so far. And we've done this over 2,000 times, right? And that shows that we have the expertise in delivering very impeccable solutions to organizations. So right from AI readiness, which we've talked about today, to things like cloud migration, to cost optimization on cloud, to modernization on cloud, which we'll talk about on our next series, which is next week. Please ensure that you register for that also. These are several things that CloudPex can help you with. So you want to come talk to us, and we would treat whatever need you have and take care of it on that end. So yes, different level of organizations we serve. I think we can take a few questions now. So if you have a few questions, you can either type in the chat, or you can show by a raise of hand, and we're also going to take it that way. But yeah, I have a question for you, Gabriel.
Okay.
I know that we've had a couple of, in different countries, we have a couple of concerns about data residency and data sovereignty. When you are leveraging AI in your organization or your environment, how can CloudPex help ensure that you are staying compliant while still getting the full juice out of the AI situation that we find ourselves?
Okay. Great question, David. Yeah, so we can think of this not as an AI problem, but as a compliance problem, right? Think of AI as not the entire system, right? Think of it as just something that is coming in to enhance what is already there. So when it comes to compliance with things like data sovereignty, right? You can always have your data sit in your local data centers, right? Say for example, like David mentioned, in a situation where your data has to reside in a particular, maybe a region or continent, right? You can always have like a local data center. Say in the case of the cloud, you can have like a local zone, like an AWS local zone now. We currently have one in Lagos. So even if you have a requirement where your data must sit within the state, like in Lagos, you can leverage something like a local data zone, right? To have your data sitting. Or you can have your usual maybe cloud providers that have data centers in the region that you are concerned with. And then once you have your data situated either in a local zone provided by the cloud, or maybe in a data center in the region that you have, then you can then leverage the AI services provided by Microsoft AWS as a pipeline, right? So your data is always residing in the zone where it should be, but then you can now call these AI services to interact with the part of your data that they need, but it is still staying compliant, and then passing back all the AI functions to the AI services that we mentioned, maybe Vision, Azure Machine Learning. Those services can basically take care of the AI part, and then your data can always reside in the cloud, in the zone where it would be compliant, or maybe in a local data center. So the AI is a separate implementation to your data requirements, right? Just think of the AI as the layer that is coming in, plugs into your data, and then does what it needs to do, and then passes it back. So you don't have to worry about any compliance requirements when it comes to plugging into cloud services like this.
Fantastic. So if your compliance layer is well sorted by technology experts, you don't have much to bother about when it comes to the AI layer.
Right.
That's what we're talking about. Great. I want to draw your attention to two announcements that are in the chat. The first is a direct link. If you want to just have a session with CloudPex team, you can see a link there in the chat where you can alternatively schedule a session with our team. Please click on that link, and we will be glad to speak with you to learn whatever your specific needs are. The second chat is the pinned one, which is our upcoming session, which happens next week. That's on modernization. Most companies are dealing with legacy systems or fragmented systems. If you are looking to learn how you can modernize these systems, that's a session that you don't want to miss. Please ensure that you register for that. That's the last session for this month, not generally last session, because we will still be doing different exposes and webinars that would expose you to different other topics in terms of technology. Yes, so those are the two links that you want to ensure that you are taking a note of. Also, the link shared by Anita earlier has the 3 different sessions that we had all through July, and you can catch up on any of them. We would share the recordings at the end of the entire series. But yeah, Gabriel, it's been great having you share this with us. I learned a thing or two about getting AI ready, and I am better prepared to speak to our customers and prospects. And I think that even business owners who joined us are better prepared to when speaking to engineers about what their needs are. And I believe that if people want to get more information, they can always reach out to CloudTech. So we are always willing to help. Gabriel mentioned, and I also mentioned earlier, that we have expertise across different cloud platforms. So if it's AWS or Azure, or you are even on-prem and you are looking to do hybrid or multi-cloud, these are some specific personalized situations that we can address on a case-by-case basis. Yes, I think we have come to the end, but before we come to the end, if you still have any questions, please type them in the chat. But I wanted to ask Gabriel a question about what do you think should be our takeaway from this session generally? If we're to just take 1 or 2 things away from this session, what do you want business owners, IT leaders, technology CTOs, people like that, what do you want them to take away from this session based on all you have said?
Yeah. So thank you, David. One thing I want everybody to take away from the session is the fact that implementing AI is not a one-step thing. It's not just payment for APIs. Is getting ready across different readiness platforms. Right. It's something that you have to think about at scale. Right. Think of it as you're not just doing this to be part of the people using AI. You are doing this to be ready to enhance a part of your business, right? And then think of it in the fact that, in the sense that you're going to be incurring cost, you're going to be incurring technical cost, financial cost, and then people cost on all of this. So being ready for it involves knowing all of these things, and then getting ready for the implementations that are going to be coming up based on all of these questions. So the takeaway from the session is basically that ask yourself these questions. Do I have the right data? Do I have the right people? Do I have the right infrastructure? And then if you can answer these questions, then you're already halfway into solving the problem. So I think that should be our takeaway from this session.
Great. The right data, the right people, and the right infrastructure and processes. This is key for our session. And with that, I'd say we've come to the end of the session. Thank you so much for hanging on till now. We have people communicating from different countries, and we had people sharing insights. I was very impressed by what Matt also shared as his contribution. Thank you all for joining us. We meet not same time. Next week's session is on Thursday, 30th. So take note of that. It's not a Friday, but look out for the communication on that in your email. So far, you've used the link that Spiff shared. Thank you. I see all the emojis rolling in the chat section. It's been great also sharing this stage with you guys. We meet same time next Thursday, and we wish you an AI ready infrastructure. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Yeah, bye everyone. Cheers.